On September 7, 1881, two men walked into a bank in Minnesota with loaded revolvers. Within 7 minutes, they'd steal what equals $500,000 today, and accidentally create America's most wanted criminal empire. Jesse Woodson James wasn't born a killer. In 1847, he entered the world as the son of a Baptist minister in Clay County, Missouri. But by age 14, everything changed. Confederate raiders attacked his family farm, tortured his stepfather, and nearly hanged Jesse himself. That day, watching Union soldiers brutalize his mother, something dark awakened in the boy who would become America's most feared outlaw. The Civil War had found its most dangerous recruit. At just 16, Jesse joined Quantrill's Raiders, the Confederacy's most ruthless guerrilla unit. Led by William Clark Quantrill, these weren't regular soldiers. They were ghosts who struck without warning, then vanished into the Missouri wilderness. Jesse learned to kill silently, ride like thunder, and disappear without a trace. In August 1863, he participated in the Lawrence Massacre, 200 civilians slaughtered in under 4 hours. War had transformed a preacher's son into a stone-cold killer. When the Confederacy surrendered in 1865, most soldiers went home. Jesse James couldn't. Union forces had branded Quantrill's men as terrorists, not soldiers. No amnesty. No forgiveness. No future except the noose. So Jesse made a choice that would terrorize America for 16 years. On February 13, 1866, he and his brother Frank walked into the Clay County Savings Bank in Liberty, Missouri. They walked out with $15,000, worth $270,000 today. The James Gang was born. But Jesse James wasn't just another outlaw. He was a criminal genius who understood something revolutionary: public perception. After each robbery, newspapers would receive detailed letters explaining his actions. "The banks and railroads have oppressed the common man," he'd write. "We take only what they've stolen." Soon, farmers and laborers saw Jesse not as a criminal, but as a folk hero fighting corrupt corporations. He'd weaponized the media 50 years before anyone understood propaganda. The James Gang's methodology was surgical precision wrapped in explosive violence. They'd scout targets for weeks, memorizing guard rotations and escape routes. On robbery day, Jesse would enter first, always polite, often tipping his hat before drawing his Colt .45. "Gentlemen, this is a hold-up," he'd announce calmly. In 16 years, they hit 12 banks and 7 trains, stealing over $200,000, equivalent to $5 million today. 0 robberies ever failed. 0 gang members were ever caught during a heist. September 7, 1876. Northfield, Minnesota. Jesse James made his first and final mistake. The gang targeted the First National Bank, expecting easy prairie farmers. Instead, they found a town full of Civil War veterans who fought back with rifles and shotguns. In the bloodiest 7 minutes in outlaw history, bullets shattered windows as citizens engaged in a running gun battle with America's most wanted criminals. When the smoke cleared, 3 gang members lay dead. Jesse barely escaped with a bullet in his lung. Northfield changed everything. Suddenly, Jesse James wasn't invincible. The Pinkerton Detective Agency, already hunting him for 5 years, intensified their pursuit. They offered $10,000 for Jesse, dead or alive. That's $260,000 in today's money. Wanted posters appeared in every post office from Missouri to California. Former allies became potential enemies. Paranoia consumed Jesse as he realized a terrible truth: in America, there's always someone willing to kill you for the right price. For 5 years after Northfield, Jesse James became a ghost. He grew a beard, used fake names, moved constantly between safe houses. But isolation was killing him slower than any bullet. His wife Sorelda begged him to surrender. His children barely knew their father's real name. Depression settled over the man who once commanded absolute loyalty. Jesse began planning one final score: enough money to disappear to South America forever. He never got the chance. Robert Ford was 20 years old when he joined the James Gang in 1881. Ambitious, ruthless, and secretly meeting with Missouri Governor Thomas T. Crittenden, who'd raised the bounty to $10,000. Ford knew Jesse trusted him, they'd shared meals, swapped stories, planned robberies together. But betrayal was more profitable than loyalty. On April 3, 1882, Ford made his choice. He would murder the most famous outlaw in American history for money. April 3, 1882. 9:30 a.m. Jesse James stood in his St. Joseph, Missouri parlor, straightening a picture on the wall. For one moment, the paranoid outlaw let his guard down. Robert Ford drew his .44 caliber revolver and fired a single shot into the back of Jesse's head. The bullet that killed Jesse James was worth exactly $10,000, the richest assassination in American history. At 34 years old, America's most famous outlaw lay dead on his own carpet. Robert Ford expected to be celebrated as the man who killed Jesse James. Instead, America turned on him with savage hatred. Songs were written calling him a coward. Death threats arrived daily. Saloons refused to serve him. The man who thought he'd become a hero discovered he'd become the most despised traitor in the country. 10 years later, Ford himself was shot dead in a Colorado mining camp, murdered by a man seeking to avenge Jesse James. Jesse James died at 34, but his legend became immortal. Within hours of his assassination, crowds gathered at his mother's farm to view the body. Photographers captured the scene as 15,000 people filed past his coffin. Dime novels turned him into a Robin Hood figure. Movies made him a romantic anti-hero. Today, 140 years later, Jesse James remains the most famous outlaw in American history, proof that in America, infamy lasts longer than virtue. Jesse James proved that in America, the line between hero and villain depends entirely on who's telling the story. He died as he lived, by the gun, betrayed by greed, and transformed into something larger than life by the very system he fought against.